Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be sharing my first project using a product from, or some products from the Perfect Match release. This is a brand new release from Honeybee for the month of January. And I'm going to be using this gorgeous Queen of Hearts rubber stamp set. I'm also going to be using the gorgeous Scattered Hearts stencil, and I'm going to be using an older die set called Lovely Layers Posted. That's the die set that you can see on the left. I'm going to be mixing in a few other products here and there from Honeybee to create that card that was on the beginning screen there. So what I'm going to do to start off with here is I'm going to take a panel of white cardstock that I have die cut from the largest layer from Lovely Layouts Posted. It just creates this really cool postage stamp kind of look for your front card panel. And I'm using the first layer of the Scattered Hearts stencil to create part of my background. So I'm taking a combination of Kitsch Flamingo, Worn Lipstick, and Picked Raspberry Distress Oxide inks. I've just got them in my ink stand there off to the right. I'm using a Honeybee medium blending brush here. And I think this is a medium, or maybe it's one of the smaller ones from the sets where you get the largest one, the medium one, and the small. And I'm just blending on those three colors of ink just to create this really pretty pink blend. Now I'm taking kind of a lilac colored paste from my stash, and you could use any color combo, obviously, any of your stencil pastes that you might have in your stash, whether they're lunar pastes or solar pastes, whatever you have. And I really wanted to use a little bit of purple in this card today. So this is just a really pretty lilac color. This one happens to be from the Crafter's Workshop. It's a newer color. It's called Violet. It's a very pretty, and I'm just taking my palette knife and I'm just running that over top of the stencil just to create that little bit of kind of metallic raised heart combination with those pinks in the background. And I do have my paper on I believe this is a Picket Fence Studio grip mat. And you can just see how nicely that paper sticks to the grip mat and allows me to go ahead and apply that paste. And there you can just see how pretty that is. And then I just took my grip mat to the sink with a little bit of dish soap and cleaned it up and let it dry. And I've just set that background off to dry as well. Now here is this gorgeous red rubber stamp called Queen of Hearts. This is brand new. It has just this really great vintage look. And what's really neat about this stamp set is it pulls apart. So you can stamp these things together or you can stamp them individually. So you can stamp this sweet little girl with her parasol. You can stamp that outline with the bows and the hearts. You can take these hearts out individually and stamp them. And there's a coordinating die set that die cuts out these hearts. There's a coordinating die set that cuts out the girl and the sentiment that says Queen of Hearts. I love this. It's so versatile. There's so many ways that you can use this, and I just think it's very cool. So I'm going to put this into my mini Misty. I've taken the mouse pad out of the Misty because this is a red rubber stamp. It's thicker. You're going to want just your paper in your Misty. And I do have some Ranger Distress watercolor paper in my Misty, and I'm stamping this with a waterproof ink. The ink that I chose is a Wendy Vecchi archival ink called Watering Can. So it's not quite black and stark. I like that. I like that it doesn't give that really, really distinct line, but there's enough of a line to use to color. It definitely doesn't give a no line look, but it's just a little bit less stark than black. So I'm going to give that a good ink up and a good press onto that watercolor paper. I did stamp that onto the smooth side of my paper. Now I'm going to be using Karin markers to watercolor this sweet little image. The colors that I've used are listed below, but I used a combination of magenta, skin 2, cerise, apple, pale violet for my colors to create a combination of pinks and purples for my sweet little girl here. So I am going to speed this up, but this is just a really simple process. What I like to do is I like to scribble out the marker for the technique I'm doing here, scribble the marker out onto my glass mat, and then with a wet brush, I pick up the pigment and I go onto the paper and start to layer the color. And if you want the color to be lighter, you can go in with more water. If you want it to be darker, you can take the water out of your brush and go in and get more of the dark color and lay that in. You can layer the colors wet on wet, or you can wait for the colors to dry and go in and layer them in that way. Totally up to you. You could play around with this technique and come up with a look that you enjoy. I am using that Skin 2 color for the skin tone areas. And then, like I said, I did want to work in some purple here as well. So this is the pale violet for the parasol. And I'm going to try to make the inside of the parasol a little bit darker, just to lay in a little bit of a shadow. And wherever you do want to put your shadow layers in, if you start off with a lighter layer and then go in with a little bit of the deeper pigment, you can just lay in some shadows in that way. I am using a silver black velvet brush here, but you can use any watercolor brush that you want. In fact, you could also use a water brush, so a brush that has water in it, to do this technique as well. I actually used one of my Spectrum Noir aquacolor pens for the hair color because I didn't have a Karin marker that was kind of like would give me sort of a blonde look. So I used one of my aquacolor pens, and the color of my aquacolor pen I'm just looking is earthy neutral. So I'm now just going to start to color in the kind of the area at the bottom that has gathers. And what I did there was I just started with the light. I go in with the light, then I clean off the brush, take some of the water out of it, and pick up some of the darker pigment. And then I went into where I would think the folds of the fabric are and dropped in that darker color. And then if you want to blend that out, you just clean your brush again and take some of the water out of it, and then go in and blend the darker color out. So this technique is very simple. If you struggle with coloring and you're looking for an easy way to color, I do highly recommend these Karin markers. They do make coloring a project really, really simple and easy. So that is all colored now. You can see that the hearts at the bottom, the little heart flowers, are a combination of purple and pink. I did color her shoes pink, and the top of her dress is pink as well. Sorry, her shoes are purple, and then the top of her dress is pink. So now I am just going to take that coordinating die, and I'm going to run that through my Gemini 2. And I'm also using an embossing folder called Spring Medley. This is an older release from Honeybee, but it is a beautiful 3D embossing folder. So I die cut a piece of white paper using that kind of scrolly die from Lovely Layouts Posted. And then I ran it through my die cutting machine with the Spring Medley embossing folder. And what that's going to do is just break up some of the busy background behind my girl. So I really want those hearts to show up in the background, but I kind of want them to show up as a border. And so the reason why I chose just to use white behind her is so that she stands out a little bit more against that busy background. But I love that. I love the hearts in that background as a border, just because it just adds that little bit of extra detail. I think it looks really pretty. Now I'm going to take my Honeybee liquid adhesive, and I'm going to adhere the card front with the stenciling onto my A2 sized top folding white card base. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to give that a really good press and just make sure that that is adhered down. Now with that embossed piece, I'm going to just add some foam adhesive onto the back and pop it up and give it a little bit of dimension. You do not have to do this, obviously. If you like your cards to be less bulky, if you're planning on mailing a card, or you just like your cards to be less bulky, just don't add the foam adhesive here. You could go ahead and add this dimensional piece onto your card front without the foam adhesive. And I'm just making sure that all of that foam adhesive is behind. And now I'll just take that release paper off. And what I like to do is I like to also put a little layer of liquid adhesive onto my foam adhesive, just so that it does give me just a little bit of wiggle time when I go to put this down onto my card front. So I'm just going to take my Honeybee liquid glue, and I'll add just a thin layer of that onto the foam tape. And then I will center that and add that onto those hearts. And now you can just see the pretty little border that I get with that heart stenciling. Now I'm going to take some foam adhesive and add that onto the back of my girl. Again, if you don't want the dimension, you wouldn't have to do this. You can just literally glue this down to the card front. And I'll go ahead and take those release paper pieces off those tabs, or those tabs off, and then center my girl onto the front of my card. I just love this vintage look. This reminds me of cards that I received as a girl. And I think I still have those. I think that my mom saved those in my baby book. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that they're there. Now I'm taking a clear wink of Stella and adding just a little bit of sparkle and shine here and there to my project. One thing I will warn is that this will reactivate your watercolor, so you just have to make sure if you're going from one color to the next that you do clean off your wink of Stella. I'm going to take a white gel pen and add some highlights here and there, adding little polka dots to that heart that she's holding, to the area in between the little hearts on the layer of her dress, and just some little highlights here and there. And once that's done, I'll let that dry. And now what I want to do is go in with some glossy accents and add some dimension and glitter. So I'm going to add the glossy accents to all of the areas with the little hearts. So the heart that she's holding, then the little heart flowers down at the bottom. I'm also going to add that to the parasol, to the little hearts on the parasol. And now what I'm going to do is take some chunky glitter and add that over top of the glossy accents. And that is just going to add the most beautiful sparkle and shine to this card. I really love what this adds. The glitter that I'm using here is the Lawn Fawn Chunky Glitter, but you could use any chunky glitter that you have. You could use the Rock Candy from Ranger, whatever glitter that it is that you like to use. And I'm just going to show you here how that looks. It just looks so pretty. And I just thought that was the perfect accent for this type of card. Now, this stamp set, Queen of Hearts, does have an enclosed or a coordinating greeting, and it says Queen of Hearts. I love that font. I think it's perfect. I've stamped that out in some black ink and then used the coordinating die to die cut that out, and I've added that to the front of my card. Friends, I have linked up in the description box below to all of the different products that I've used. Make sure that you check out the Perfect Match collection, brand new in the shop at Honeybee Stamps. It is absolutely gorgeous. There are so many fun new additions to the Honeybee collection. Make sure you check it out and have a wonderful day. And I'll see you again very soon. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.